Hey friends, I'm Otis Gibbs, and this is my buddy Kenny Vaughan. He's going to share some thoughts about George Jones.
For me, George Jones quit being George Jones right about 1970. That was it. All that shit he cut after that was awful. Hotter than a $2 pistol. It's like He Stopped Loving Her Today is a piece of garbage, if you ask me. They call it the greatest country song ever written. It's not. Not even close. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's a schlock record. It's those sickening strings, and George didn't like it. He didn't want to cut it. Billy Sherrill made him cut it, and he didn't like it after that. And he didn't like singing it live. It was a cartoon piece for him. It wasn't what he really wanted to do. I think the real George Jones was the guy that recorded between Star Day and 1970. That's it. Mercury stuff and Music Core label stuff is the real shit. Not the Billy Sherrill stuff. It's good records, but that's not the real George Jones. And I don't know who produced that was Billy Sherrill. He Stopped Loving Her Today, but I hate that. I like Bobby Braddock's version, the guy that wrote it. When he plays with his piano by himself, it's like, oh, I do like this song when he does it, Yeah. He has a different angle on it,
George recorded an entire Hank Williams album.
Oh, yeah.
In 2 hours.
Yeah, really good. Most of those records he did in that era were pretty much cut in a very small amount of time. He's such a good singer, He just those Melba Montgomery duets. Oh my God. Those things are amazing. We had her on the Marty Stewart show, and we pumped her for as much information about that experience in her life. I was like, how did you guys? You just sound like you're related when you sing together. She says, well, it was just the first time we sang together. It was like that. We don't know. We didn't have to work on anything. We just would go in there and sing it. Roll the tape, and we'd stand there in the same mic and sing. That's just what they did. There weren't any punches in and, fixing stuff back in those days. They just, everybody's on the session. The background singers are over in one of the vocal booths. Everything's going down live, Don't have time to do overdubs, We got to get this done in 3 hours, It was about budgets and stuff. We can't go over. We got 3 hours. That's per session. They didn't want to have to pay overtime. But budgets were tight, and if you sold 200,000 records, you were doing really good. I know a lady who sold 1 million records and got dropped because she only sold 1 million. And she was really good, but, that was in a different era, I love the real George Jones. That's not the real George Jones. That's a comic book version of George Jones. George Jones checked out in about 70. He never came back. He didn't give a shit. It was just going through the motions. He was a complex individual. Oh, yeah. He just flat out didn't give a shit. There's a story about him. He bought a car in the morning, and by the time he went to bed, he'd traded 5 times. He had 5 different cars in one day that just kept trading until, he went to bed. It was 5 cars later. It's the kind of guy he was, He liked to mow the lawn. He liked to ride on the riding mower. That was one thing he really enjoyed doing.
If you'd like to hear more of Kenny Vaughan telling stories, click this playlist, and I'll see you somewhere down the road. Much love to you.